It's a fast-moving world, yet few things seem to move faster than the algorithm on LinkedIn. We get great advice today. Oh, you should be doing this. And then it seems like, I don't know, 2 weeks later, oh, don't do that. You should be doing this. So we have a lot of questions about LinkedIn and what is happening right now and what is working. And when we want to talk about LinkedIn and what's working, there's one person to go to, Sue Gresham, the LinkedIn lady. She is here to share with us what works on LinkedIn right now and what people are talking about that's old news and you shouldn't be doing anymore. So we'll check in with her in just a few moments. We also have some guests from the Idea Collective retreat that's coming up in 2 weeks. We'll talk with Ariel Kopek of the Coaches Culmination Group and also the mayor of Podcast Town. Yes, we have a celebrity on the show. The mayor of Podcast Town, Elsie Flanard, will be on the show as well. This weekly show is called Small Business Rally Point. I'm Pat Miller, the Idea Coach. I'm the founder of the Idea Collective. It is a community of small business owners, and we just got together and thought, you know what? Small business doesn't have to be so hard. If we kind of work together and help each other out, we'll make more money, we'll go further, and we'll have a little bit of fun doing it. So if you want to know more about the Idea Collective, I'd be happy to tell you. Let's connect. You can also learn more at patmillerideacoach.com. This show is also sponsored by Bank59, Quick Trip, and Serendipity Labs. So how about we get down to it? I want to know more about LinkedIn and check in with our friend, the LinkedIn lady, Sue Gresham. Sue, my dear, it's so great to see you. How are you?
Good. It's so good to see you too and see everybody here. It's been too long.
It has. It's been a minute, and you have been working tirelessly to stay up to date on what's going on in LinkedIn. And before we get to that, I want to share a piece of trivia, and I'm not sure if anyone knows this. My first client when I left the radio group was Sarah Nowacki. She's number one. I always call her number one. She was client one, Sarah Nowacki, the travel agent. But before I got my first client, I had my first official business meeting, and that was with Sue Gresham. Before I even left the radio station, I met with Sue to look at my LinkedIn profile. And after she stopped laughing, we got down to business and she helped me fix it. So Sue, I'm in debt for your help those many, many years ago. So anyway, it's great to see you. Let's talk about LinkedIn and what's working. So what is going on right now in LinkedIn? What's a headline that you can share with us?
Well, okay. So the first headline is that we're going to be coming to November, and every year in November, LinkedIn does some stuff. And what I mean by stuff is they start changing things, they delete things, they do all sorts of things. Well, they kind of got to jump on it a little bit this year. And they actually deleted something that wasn't very popular. Surprise. LinkedIn stories are gone. They were only on mobile. You couldn't get them on desktop, and they were just not good. So LinkedIn just, well, they weren't, and I don't know how else to say it. LinkedIn tried to be like Instagram and Facebook and all the rest of them, and that just doesn't work in this environment. So after probably a lot of people complaining, they decided to pull the plug on them, and they're gone. But I also think another reason they pulled the plug on them is because video and LinkedIn Live they're really gaining so much traction. They have been for a couple of years now, but even more so now than before. And so I think that Stories was kind of competing with some of that stuff. And so that's gone. Those are gone. But LinkedIn video is one of the things. There's a couple of things that are happening big on LinkedIn.
Yeah, it seems like every once in a while a social media network will say, you know what, I want to be like another social media network, and they'll embrace whatever the core technology of some other platform might be. So they tried stories and it didn't work, but you said video is doing well. Are you seeing a lot of engagement around video?
Yeah, video is doing really well. But there's two kinds of video on LinkedIn. There's the LinkedIn Live where people are actually doing, like this kind of a thing live on LinkedIn, and it's out there. And then there's also the actual using video natively, doing a video and uploading it directly from your computer to LinkedIn. And so what's interesting about that is that even with this, there was a study that came out maybe a couple of weeks ago that really brought into focus everything that was happening with the LinkedIn algorithm. And LinkedIn made some major changes over the last year that have been affecting things. And video very definitely has seen a change. And I'm not going to bore you with a lot of stats, but I will just throw one thing out there. If you are doing LinkedIn video like natively, where you're uploading it from your computer, the magic number now is about 60 seconds max. Okay, 60 seconds, don't go any longer than that. The reach for the algorithm tends to go down the longer that it is. So that was an interesting little thing that I learned when I was doing my research. And also it's really important that you have captions. Okay, or they call them, there's another word for it that just left my head, but captions.
Captions. Yeah.
Captions.
We'll just call them captions between us because we know what that means.
Yes.
These types of advice, like, oh, it's got to be less than 60 seconds and it has to have captions. Those are the types of things we hear frequently, but that really makes a difference. To upload it natively and keep it under 60 and add the captions, you're seeing a material change there.
Absolutely. I think I probably have some stats that I could bore you with, but it increases your reach. Oh, you know, I have so many stats here. It's really bad. I'm sorry. But it increases your reach at least 20 or 30%.
Wow.
At least. Yeah, at least. And then there's a whole lot of other little snippets of information too. And I don't want to, I'll back you down the path just a second, but here's the thing with LinkedIn. Their algorithm and the way that you come up on the home feed is based on what things that we already know. It's you know, it's your network. It's how you're connected, the infinity that you've got between the person that's looking at what's out there and what isn't. But here's what's also really interesting is that engagement for everyone has dropped about 20%, or reach for everyone has dropped about 20% in the last year. So as you look at those things called views and you look at your numbers, if you're seeing a decrease, you're not everybody else is too. And there's a couple of reasons for that. One of them is just the sheer volume of things that are being posted now. It's ridiculous that especially because mobile, and here's the other thing, mobile is different than desktop, which you may have figured that out on your own, but they're very much differently. But once you start putting all that together in the whole LinkedIn machine, everything is changed. So like, for instance, one of the things I wanted to share with you is that only 5% of LinkedIn users are actually publishing content on a regular basis. But what they're publishing is so much more. And so that's kind of one of those interesting facts that you want to be real careful when you're doing things on LinkedIn. You only want to post once a day, believe it or not. If you post more than once a day, your reach decreases. And they just start to downgrade what your first post. So if you post a second post, the first post is downgraded. So you want to be strategic with that. I don't know if you guys had heard that before, but that's a thing.
But all of this sounds so fishy. It just sounds so funny. Oh, post more than once a day, you'll anger the LinkedIn gods. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it sounds so fake, but you're saying it's actually a thing.
It is actually a thing. And I should have, it says here that there's 25% less, I've got all these notes, 25% less reach with your second post. Okay. And if you're only reaching 10 to 15% of your audience to begin with, how much is that? That could be a lot less. Or if you've got millions of people, then it isn't. But
I was told there'd be no math, Sue. I
know that's why I'm really trying to stay away from the numbers, but sometimes that's what numbers supposedly don't lie, right? Supposedly. Right. So, that's one of those things that's really important. It's something to be aware of.
I just, for a practitioner like yourself, because there are people like me that post on LinkedIn and hope it does well. But as a practitioner of yourself, when you're watching these algorithm changes and you understand the impact, give us an idea of how far the pendulum is swinging here. Are these little changes they're making? Or are these pretty sizable changes that they're making?
Well, it's interesting because for some people, that's a great question. It depends.
It depends. Great answer.
Well, okay. So for the average user for LinkedIn, they're not going to notice this. Okay. But for the large organizations and the large users, they're going to notice this. I've received 2 or 3 calls, including from some people that you actually know really well, Pat, in the last couple of months, asking me why their reach has gone down, why they're not getting as many views. Those are people, if you're religiously paying attention to your counts, you're going to see that they're going down. LinkedIn brought this creator mode out there a number of months ago.
Yep.
And that allows you to change what the profile a little bit, allows you to have some hashtags that are your hashtags that you're going to post about all the time. It allows then your posts to come up higher. They actually show up right under your pretty face now, instead of a little bit further down. They're above the about section. Well, when they added this creator mode, what happened was that also meant that you were then moving from connections, and connections being your focus, to followers. Okay. Which in itself, people were saying, well, I went to creator, and now all of a sudden I'm not getting the connections. Or here's the other thing. When they did that, they moved from connections over to followers. And the thought was that they were going to spread the reach farther behind followers than connections. Guess what? It didn't necessarily work. Okay. And so the idea here is that that's their newfangled thing. But if you're here for connections and not for followers, you're going to find a difference. So really the creator mode is meant for people that are posting the articles and so on and so forth, and that want to supposedly have people that are actually following what they read instead of the connecting. Okay.
Yeah, I won't bore you with a question about what I'm doing, because I moved over to creator mode as well, away from the connection mode, because we're doing shows and posting a bunch of content like that. I would assume if you're doing video, it's not just written articles that creator mode works for.
Correct. And here's the thing. So if you're doing the creator mode, and it's as you are, you're going to want to make sure, you've got those 3 hashtags, right, that are underneath who you are.
Yep.
Make sure that all of your content is using those hashtags.
Oh, that'd be good.
At least a couple of those.
I should do that. Yeah.
So those almost have to become your branded hashtags for your time on LinkedIn. And so that does make a difference in helping with your reach go further.
All right, we've got the opportunity to ask some questions of Sue. So if you have questions, comments, or sarcastic remarks, put them in the chat. We've got one from Ira. Are captions on LinkedIn auto-generated?
No.
Okay.
No, you need to do the captions when you're doing your video. And to be honest with you, that's way over my head on how that technology works. So I'm going to defer to you people that do these all the time, but I think it depends on the whether you're using OBS or some of those other video programs.
When I've used Restream. When you use Restream, it will allow you to turn on auto-generated captions. But I don't have the best diction in the world. I don't have a diction problem. Thank you very much. But I don't have the best diction in the world for being a radio guy. And but I'm a radio guy. So like you would think that the auto-generated captions would be pretty darn close. It's not the greatest. It's probably better than not having them at all, but it's not perfect in the transcription of capturing the audio and putting it on top of the video. So for what it's worth, some of the services will do that automatically when you're streaming LinkedIn Live. Okay, a few other questions. Let's see here. Roger says, any recommendations or any more criteria to use to decide whether or not to go to creator mode or stay in traditional LinkedIn mode?
So I love that question. And I went to creator mode for a while and I came back out of it. And part of the reason that so when I was making my decision, okay, it really depends on what your goals are. All right. And if you are in a mode where you want to reach and be able to really grow your network for like your personal network, your connections for the purpose of growing your business or prospecting individually with those people, creator mode is not going to be your best friend. Okay. In other things, creator is better. And I found my stats. So, Pat had asked, if you're in creator mode, okay, there are certain things that will have a better lifetime and lifespan on the timeline, okay, or on the feed. And one of those is actually the way that the posts are circulated through. Okay. That, I'm going to try and simplify that statement.
Please do.
Well, what happens is when you post something, okay, and I hate to get really in the weeds here, but when you post something, you've got a 2-hour window for it to get traction. Okay, a 2-hour window. And in that 2-hour window, if people are coming and liking and commenting and so on and so forth on it, or sharing it, doing any of those things, you as the creator should be going back in within that 2-hour window and commenting and having that conversation back with them. In creator mode, it turns out that might cycle through a little bit differently and cycle through an extra time. Okay. Whereas in regular mode, it depends what kind of engagement you have. So LinkedIn kind of says, well, if you're a creator, well, we're going to give you a little extra love. That's what I mean by that.
You're creating content to engage people on the platform. That's the concept, right? Yes. So for what it's worth, I switched over maybe 2 months ago, and I have like 200 more followers than connections right now. So, and I don't really work LinkedIn all that hard. I mean, I'm on there, but I'm not like strategically going after it. But for what it's worth, I wonder if I was not in creator mode, do you think, Sue, that would mean I've missed out on 200 connections, not 200 followers?
Well, so here's the thing, because there's a lot of people that don't know that just because when you're following someone, you can also connect with them.
Got it.
So, you know, one of the things I'm trying to do is I'm trying to spread the word so that people understand that there is a way to still connect if people want to. What you're doing by being in creator mode is you're kind of, in essence, saying followers are more important than connections. Okay, that's kind of that unwritten thing that somebody might look at your profile and go, oh, this guy only wants me to follow him. Okay, but the more button, if you see somebody's got a follow on their profile, click the more button, and there's a good chance you're going to be able to connect with them.
Right.
Okay. But if you want more followers, and Pat, I totally understand, and for where you're at, that's what you would want. Okay. For other people that are maybe different types of small business where their reach is a little bit different, where they're trying to do something different, connections are still the way to go. So.
Okay. We've got a lot more questions. If you have them, put them in the chat, but I want to go a little bit deeper into that 2-hour window to make a post work or not. And I want to ask you about some of the tricks that you hear people bring up, bots or pods or some of these things to try and get that initial engagement. What's the latest on some of those tactics? Are they working?
Okay, so that whole bot pod thing is one of the big reasons why LinkedIn changed the algorithm. Last year, it was you had to respond within an hour. Okay, and people were doing that and jumping on. And what was happening was that then it was causing skewed results. Okay, so personally, I am afraid I'm opposed to bots. And by the way, if you're using a bot to do any kind of auto-generated messaging and LinkedIn finds out, you're out of there. They will kick you out.
Wait, what do you mean? What do you mean out of there?
They'll disband you. I mean, they'll kick you out of LinkedIn.
So let me make sure I'm really clear on what you're saying here, because we get the automated messages. Hey, I looked at your profile and we don't do anything that's similar, but I think we should be connected, right? And you wake up to these. I wake up to these almost every day in my messages, people asking to connect. If you're saying that someone's using a computer program to do that at scale and LinkedIn finds out about it, they'll get their profile booted?
They'll get their profile booted. Absolutely.
Whoa.
And then if they get their profile booted, then that means they lose everything, right? And there are, right now, there are 65, well, I shouldn't say right now. Back earlier this summer, there was an article that I read, and there are actually 65 bots that LinkedIn has discovered that the people were paying for to use that have are basically, they've been shut down by LinkedIn. Okay, so LinkedIn is aggressive about that. And that's one of the reasons. So this whole fake thing it doesn't serve people well to do it. Okay,
so
now
bots
that's
are bad.
automated. I'm sorry, what?
I was just going to say bots are bad. What about pods, teams of people that team up with one another to get engagement on their accounts?
So here's one of the things about pods. Okay. first of all, LinkedIn has said that they don't want people using pods. They've put that out there. Now, that doesn't mean that they're stopping people from using pods, but they can figure out if you are in a pod. And there's some telltale signs, like the same people are always commenting, okay? Or the comments are really just like, great article, all right? Instead of really having any depth about actually reading the article. So here's what LinkedIn has done about that, okay? LinkedIn loves comments when you comment on something, okay? And so if you find something that you like, and this is one part of the answer to the question, but part about the bots, it behooves you to have long conversations and longer comments and comments of value, because if there's a lot of people that post, oh, great article, thank you, LinkedIn does not take that as really good engagement, and they will downgrade and the reach on that particular article or that particular post. So they're reading what we're posting, which is not a surprise, right? But that's the case. So a strategy would be, if you're going to be in a bot, first of all, if the information is relevant to you, or I'm sorry, if you're going to be in a pod, if the information is relevant to you, great, okay. But to be in a paid pod where then you're just paying for likes and for that's going to go against you. And at some point, LinkedIn will degrade your posts.
Wow. And
they've said that they will do that. So really, organic is really the best way to do this, you know, to be real and to be authentic and to really do that. And to have conversations as a creator of a content and as the person that is actually having and commenting on the conversations. There were some stats here that I want to find really quickly for you about posting content, because there's a couple of things that people were doing, and I just want to raise a little flag and say we don't have to do that anymore. Last year, there was a thing where if you had an external link, first of all, LinkedIn doesn't want to send people to other sites. They want to keep you there. If you had an external link, there were these little games that people were playing where they would post it, you know, have their post, and then they'd be the first one to comment on it and say, you know, comment in link below, or link in comments below.
Yes.
LinkedIn has totally degraded those, and your reach plummets drastically if you are the first person to comment on your own post.
So don't do it.
So don't do it.
So should you put the link in the post then?
So put the link in the post and go for it, because you're going to get, especially if it turns out to be a good post and people are commenting and they're engaged in the post, LinkedIn isn't going to stop the engagement for something if they're truly engaged. Okay. But if you have a link that you're using to a paid site, so like, let's say, for instance, Wall Street Journal. Okay. You find this great article on Wall Street Journal and you want to share it with your network, but people have to be behind a paywall or have to be part of the paywall to get that article. Right. LinkedIn will, they'll know that right away. They'll degrade their reach on that content, and it will just pretty much disappear from anybody's feed.
Wow.
Okay. So they don't want people to be sent to paid sites.
All right. So while we're talking about things that everyone did because they thought it worked, can I ask another question that everyone did this, and I'm not sure if it's still working. I had a lollipop today. How about you, Jennifer Buchholz, Sue Gresham, Ariel Kopak, Beth Engel, Serena Talbot, blah, 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 blah. Where like 92 people tag and get asked about their ice cream. And it's like, I have nothing to do with your ice cream flavors. Why did you tag me? People were doing it because they thought that was going to drive their reach. Is that a thing anymore?
Okay, so that is the most annoying thing in the world, as from someone that's been tagged for something totally irrelevant many times. Here is what LinkedIn has said, that tagging people is okay. However, at least 50% of the people that are tagged in that post need to be commenting.
Okay.
Otherwise, that post is going to lose its reach.
Got it.
Okay. So even when there's these great posts about, well, I'm so glad you came to my event, or I'm so glad, it was
Sure.
great to see you at XYZ, and they tag the whole roster of people that were there.
Yeah.
If 50% do not respond and do not comment, and here's the other thing, the comments can't just be a yes, it was great. There has to be a comment, right? If that doesn't happen, then the post gets degraded and it will go away. So it backfires. It totally backfires on the people that are doing the tagging. And you know what? It annoys the people that get tagged.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah.
So don't do it.
A little bit. All right. We're running out of time. We need to have you back for a night school is what we need to do, because I would love to sit down with you for an hour and just learn from you. Because every time we get together, everything we know about LinkedIn is wrong, is apparently what happens.
It's not wrong. It's just a little different.
That's so nice. That was such a grade school teacher answer. Oh, well, Pat, little Pat, you didn't fail. You were just stupid. Oh, thank you.
Pat,
thank you, Mrs.
No,
Gresham.
Pat, you did what you thought you were supposed to do, and that was right. Good.
You did your best, pat on the head back when you had hair. Thank you. I appreciate it. Okay, so we're running out of time. So I can't help but follow my curiosity on this. Could you manufacture the ultimate LinkedIn Frankenstein post by writing an article, right? Because they love the articles, and then shooting a 60-second or less video talking about the article. And you know what I mean? Stack LinkedIn value on top of LinkedIn value. Wouldn't they love that?
They would, but don't start with that. Start with a poll.
Ooh, okay. So you're saying, okay, let's make this workflow, because now I'm kind of excited about it. Okay. Hey, what's your favorite flavor of ice cream? Start with a poll, right? And then what?
And then, okay. Then what you would do after that is you can't really do it in the same post because the poll doesn't really allow for that.
Correct.
But in the second one, you could refer to the results of the post with a cute little video, 1-minute video, explaining why people did what they did, or explaining the value, or explaining something about that that's relevant to you. Okay. And so then you've got the snippet from that post or from that video. And of course, if you've captioned it, then what do you have? You've got all these little talking points, right? That you could then put into some tips and tricks, right? Or if you didn't want to do the tips and tricks, you just use that as a spinoff for the next series of posts and polls. Okay. But you could actually, from your poll, you could generate a whole bunch of great content that would last you for quite a while.
Yep.
And we're only talking about LinkedIn. We're not even talking about what you could do on those other sites, like that Instagram thing and that.
Other sites. There are other sites, LinkedIn lady. I didn't know that you would comment on other sites.
I don't know anything about them, but I've heard that they're there.
Right. Okay. So 2 more questions before we get out of here. And I wish we could create some more time to get these comments and these questions in. But is there a strategy out there that nobody's talking about? Tell us that LinkedIn lady secret that's working for you right now, that you're seeing people get what they need out of LinkedIn using this strategy. Okay.
So there is what nobody's talking about. Probably not, because there's so many really smart people out there. But really the best thing that's something that you want to be aware of and that you might want to know is that, and this goes back to connections versus followers, but when there's somebody that you want to know about or when you want to engage with, all right, your best bet is to start by not just looking at their profile, but start by engaging in their content. And you need to do it more than just a day or two in advance. You need to start to make this a long tail thing where you're doing this for a few weeks at a time, paying attention, commenting, becoming top of mind, so that that person recognizes you a couple of times on what they're posting. And then what happens is once you've connected with someone and made that little hi, work together thing, LinkedIn will continue to share their content. So as a content creator, when you are connecting with someone, your content winds up going to your new connections feeds. So you want to think of how you can strategically place yourself in front of the people that are out there. Okay.
So you heard it straight from the LinkedIn lady. Stalking is the new strategy. That's not the weeks of commenting and following them around, right? Can we call it that?
Yeah.
No?
Yeah. No, it's maybe not weeks. How about let's go 10 days?
10 days. 10 days. That's not really stalkerish. That's just kind of interested. All right. That's really good. Thank you for that. And that's interesting that we'll start showing up in their feeds when we're engaging more deliberately together. So that's really good.
Absolutely.
All right. So by this point, you might be realizing how much you don't know about LinkedIn. That's why the LinkedIn lady is here. You've got a new programming launching on November 8th. Tell us about it.
So I'm launching my new program, Power Up Your LinkedIn Presence. Pretty good, huh? And it is, it's a course, but it's also got live coaching and training included with some pre-recorded modules where we are going to take you from really having that presence on LinkedIn. It could be a profile that's embarrassing. It will help you figure out strategically exactly who and how you should be connecting with people. And really it's the who. How do you find those people? And what can you do with them? And then, but then the rest of the piece is like, how do you put it all together? How do you create the content? What content is going to work? What content isn't going to work? So we cover these things in that course. It's 6 weeks. If you can get through it in 6 weeks, but of course, you know, as with all courses, we know that sometimes it takes people a little bit longer. So the course will be there for a while for you. So I can put in the chat the link to find out more about it.
We can do that. And what is your website where we can find out?
My website is sue-gresham.com.
Sue-gresham.com, the LinkedIn lady. Sue, thank you so much for coming on and sharing all this brilliant stuff. And I cannot wait to see you soon.
Thank you.
Gonna be fun. Sue Gresham, the LinkedIn lady. Thanks for coming on. We have to have her back for a night school. Like we're overdue for a Sue night school. About once a year is a good rhythm to get up on everything going on with LinkedIn. Let's talk about the Idea Collective Retreat. Hello, we are now 11 days, 12, I forget. Not very many days away from the Idea Collective Retreat at the Grand Geneva Resort, the 5th through the 7th. Mel Robbins is our keynote. Jesse Cole's going to be there in person, and many, many lovely, brilliant people from the Idea Collective are going to get together and plan their businesses for 2022 together. And we have some really cool features. So it's great to have speakers and panelists. You have to have that. But we wanted to make it more engaging than just that. And one of the ways that we're doing it is Ariel Kopak and her Coaches Culmination group. They're putting on a free coaching session and seminar on Sunday morning, which I think is really cool. So let's welcome in Ariel right now. Ariel, good to see you, my friend. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. Excited to be here and excited for the retreat.
I know. I can't believe it's almost here. And the Coaches Culmination, Coaches Row is going to be a great feature for guests that are coming. So tell people what it is and how they can get involved.
Certainly. So Coaches Culmination, Coaches Row is full of coaches for whatever you get inspired for in the retreat. The beautiful thing is the Coaches Row is going to be on Sunday. So it's on the last day of the retreat, and you can book a coaching session with one of the coaches, and then whatever you've been inspired by in the retreat, whatever you're thinking, I need to do this, but I'm afraid that when I go home, I'll lose the inspiration, or I have an idea, but I need to make sure that I'm ready to execute on it. This is going to be the opportunity to have that coaching session. And there's all different kinds of coaches. There's business, finance, insurance, sales, strategy, business coaching of all kinds. So whatever you discovered you need from the retreat or are looking for, you're going to find it. So very excited for all of the amazing coaches, as you can see here, that are going to be available. So you do a 10-minute coaching slot, and then after that is the goal setting brunch. So you'll have clarity for setting your goals right after that coaching session to put all of this into action. And I think it ensures that the retreat will last with you long into 2022.
That's a good way to put it, because we're going to learn some stuff, but we're only as good as the behaviors every day when no one's hanging around, because we're going to leave that place fired up and ready to kick some butt, but we're going to come home to ourselves. And are we going to be better off to execute everything we just learned? It's also a good way to start a relationship, right? I mean, maybe you've always wanted to talk to you or Serena or Michael Rampolla or Brad Herda, but you've never really had the chance to do a potential one-on-one during a coaching session. How much can you get done in 10 minutes? Can you actually get to know each other a little bit that fast?
Well, I think it comes in with expectations. So if you're coming in with, I have 10 minutes to gain all that I can out of this coach and out of this coaching session, I say one of the most powerful things you can do for a coaching session is come in with expectation. Because if you expect to get something out of it, I assure you with the coaches that we have on the row, you will. And I've also been talking with some of the coaches about how to maximize that time, because these are the coaches who really care about adding value and building that relationship. So we're already talking about how can you maximize 10 minutes with a person, and you're going to have already so much of this inspiration, idea generation, that the amazing impact of Mel Robbins, Jesse Cole, and the people, tons of smart people in the room on Saturday. So by Sunday comes, you're going to be like, all right, I have to narrow in on my one thing, 10 minutes, let's go. And you're going to know kind of who or how to execute on that afterwards, because you have all this amazing information. And then this is your time to whittle that down and be like, all right, what's the one or two things I need to do and how can you help?
So if I'm looking here now, we have about 12 coaches that all have about 10 or 12 slots each, and they've still got slots available. So if you're coming to the retreat and you have not booked your free coaching sessions, it's a great opportunity. You were also kind of all over the LinkedIn news and our network recently for Master the Monsters, your coaches culmination event. How did it go? Tell us about it if we missed it. And when are you doing one again?
It went fantastic. And I must say, it got me extra excited for the retreat. Not that I wasn't top of the moon already, but the Master of the Monsters event was incredible. And it was facilitating panels of coaches and letting their wisdom shine and drawing out the nuggets that they have gained from coaching and from their clients, and then giving that to the room. And so I had people saying at the end that they were re-energized, motivated, excited, something that they've thought of before, they're now ready to take action on, that kind of feedback, which is incredible to hear. And I was thinking, I could do this all over again, but to an even bigger crowd and in a bigger format for the retreat. So it got me really pumped up.
Yeah, it's going to be fun. Are you having another one soon? When's the next event?
The next event will be in February. We're locking in the date. And so it'll be late February, and we always got to tie into the theme of the month. So I'll put that plug out there. And then also, you know me, Pat, there will be alliteration involved in the title.
Oh yeah. We have to have some alliteration in the title. And if it's in February, it's got to be something about love or something about, you got to get something good going on there, but I'm sure you will. We're really excited to be partnered with you for Coaches Row. Thank you for Coaches Culmination getting involved. It's a great benefit to everyone that's coming, and that's great to see you again. Thank you, Ariel.
Love it. Thank you, Pat.
All right, so let's turn our attention now to the mayor of podcasting, Mr. Elsie Flanard. Elsie, it is great to see you, Mr. Mayor. How have you been, and how is Podcast Town doing?
I have been absolutely wonderful. Podcast Town is awesome. Thank you for asking.
That's true. Podcast Town is awesome. That's a good way to put it. So similar to Ariel, she is bringing her coaches to the retreat so people can get some free laser coaching from the coaches she brings along. You're setting up a podcast studio. And do you think we should rub it into Ariel that you're sold out already and she's not? Should we rub that in?
No, we should not rub it in. I don't want any problems with Ariel. I want to stay on her good side.
That's probably a good strategy. But it's really cool what you're doing. Folks that have a podcast, some people that don't have a podcast will get 20 minutes to record a show inside the Podcast Town studio at the retreat. So what's going to happen when someone signs up and gets involved?
Well, it depends, Pat. It depends on how prepared they are. But I'm prepared to work with people who just show up and say, okay, what do we do? So I think that's going to be the fun of it, is just kind of seeing how that comes together, because it's pretty real life that sometimes people know that they have something to say. They know they have a message that they want to get out to the world, but they don't really know what to say or how to format it. So we'll have an opportunity to get some real world application behind. We know that this is a platform we want to leverage, we want to use, but how do we get past the details, right? How do we shape our message? How do we get it out there and format it in a way that's engaging and makes people want to listen more?
And the magic of Podcast Town is that you let people just show up and perform. You handle all of the stuff, all the microphones, all the editing. That's what makes Podcast Town special. That's what people tell you they like the most, isn't it?
No, Pat, they say they like me the most.
Well, that's true. I mean, that's a given. I mean, you keep on getting elected mayor, they must like you the most, right?
Yes. It's a sham election, so yeah.
Well, it's great that you're going to be there, and there are so many great potential guests walking around. And when we put on the times for Podcast Town, made them available to our VIP guests, they got snapped up. And then when they went available to our regular non-VIP guests, they got sold out. So LZ is full. It's going to be great. Thank you so much for participating in the retreat. And I know that the people that are coming are excited to see you. I'll see you then.
Yeah, no worries. I'm so looking forward to it.
It's going to be fun. It's going to be fun. Elsie Flanard, the mayor of Podcast Town, kind of a big get today on the old Small Business Rally Point. Thank you, pal. All right. So we are just under 2 weeks until the retreat happens, but that doesn't mean you can wait 2 weeks to buy your ticket. In fact, on Wednesday, the hotel room block expires and the hotel rate goes at the Grand Geneva Resort 4-star joint from $119 to a lot more than $119. So if you want to get in on the room rate that we are enjoying, you have until Wednesday to book your room. And the absolute last day to register for the retreat is Thursday. That's it. By this Thursday, we are going to be all closed for the retreat. I could go on and on about how the supply chain is making us do that, but I'm just going to keep it positive today and say, hey, get your ticket by Thursday. And that way you can come hang out with the mayor and Ariel and Sue and everyone from the Idea Collective. And Mel Robbins is going to be there speaking at us. So, it's going to be kind of a big deal. Smallbizretreat.com is the website. And this is it. This is the week. Because after this, we're just going to basically go have a bunch of fun with each other and enjoy something that we've been looking forward to now for many, many months. If you're thinking about the Idea Collective and you're not coming to the retreat, you'd like to just join our online community, you can get in for a year free thanks to our friends at Bank 59. They exist to make lives better. And when you move your small business banking to Bank 59, they'll hook you up with a free year in the community. It's a great partnership. We have a lot of folks in the group that have done it. So check them out at bank59.com/Idea Collective. A huge thank you to Sue for coming on, Ariel and Elsie as well. Thank you for joining us. I'm Pat Miller, the Idea Coach. 2 more weeks and it's on. We'll see you at the Idea Collective Retreat, and we'll see you next Monday on Small Business Rally Point. Thanks for coming. Bye-bye.